So Ronél and I will be addressing internal communication from the perspective of corporate governance and sustainability, and we will be proposing a new approach to internal communication. I will be starting just with a brief introduction, and then I will be addressing contemporary business and communication perspectives in this field that we have used as a point of departure for our presentation, then some theoretical perspectives. I'll look at internal communication, although most of you are familiar with the definitions of internal communication, and therefore I will not really go into definitions, but just a broad perspective. Then internal corporate communication, a stakeholder approach. Integrated internal communication, a knowledge management approach. Strategic internal communication, a resource-based approach. And then what we will be proposing is an enterprise communication approach. In other words, a corporate governance and sustainability approach, including those two concepts into the current internal communication paradigm. Then an illustration of our theoretical approach and the way forward. As a first comment, with regard to the point of departure, the inclusive stakeholder approach to corporate governance has been a great influence in the way in which we in South Africa has approached internal communication from a corporate governance perspective. The King Report on Corporate Governance that has been published in 2009 has changed the whole corporate communication landscape in South Africa in terms of internal communication in particular. We're looking at stakeholders, their needs and interests, and including that into the strategic management process, and then also reporting on it back to the board. That has been included as a process in our corporate governance guidelines for companies listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. But making that is more the pragmatic perspective to internal communication. The theoretical foundation of that also pertains to boundaries that are becoming more porous between an internal and an external environment, including stakeholder approaches also into mainstream strategy. Networking, the networking society and social networks, social media, has a huge influence in the integration of internal and external communication, and stakeholders are becoming co-creators of knowledge from a knowledge perspective. So the two main themes in this debate is stakeholders and knowledge management, knowledge creation, creating meaning in stakeholder dialogue. Cyberspeak has also become important because internal employees also now regularly communicate, obviously, with stakeholders, external stakeholders, and in that arena, new meaning is created. Oversight function of the board has become important, whereas they are responsible for stakeholders, where we're moving away from a shareholder approach, a strong shareholder approach to a stakeholder approach. The responsibility for stakeholders and including their interests and expectations in strategy is being delegated to management for implementation. This also includes responsible leadership as an important approach, taking into account ethics, sustainability, and corporate governance. The theories that we've used as a point of departure for this argument was the reflective paradigm with a strong focus on the triple bottom line, the excellence theory with a value that can be created by public relations for the company at the different levels, the program level, organizational level, societal level, etc. Stakeholder theory, which proposes a redefinition of the organization from a stakeholder perspective. Structuration theory, which specifically looks at the boundaries and the porousness thereof, and then certain strategic management theories, the resource-based view, industrial, organizational and environmental perspective, business networking and relational perspectives, the knowledge view of the firm, corporate responsibility and sustainability, and stakeholder approaches. In terms of internal communication, some literature proposes that there's no longer a separation between internal and external communication, and that the social networks, the IT environment, information environment, has contributed to this. Internal corporate communication, a stakeholder approach, focuses strongly on the incorporation of stakeholder perspectives into this debate. Knowledge management I've addressed, as well as the resource-based approach. Enterprise communication, what we are proposing is that legitimacy and a license to operate should become part of our debate on internal communication. The governing of stakeholder relationships are important, as well as social auditing and integrated reporting. The process of where we start with internal communication that leads to social auditing, the auditing of your communication processes, and which results in integrated reporting, has brought a new perspective to the debate on internal communication. I will now hand over to Ronél Rensburg, who will do an illustration on the topic.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, how are you? We have looked for companies across the world to see whether we can find just an illustration for you of companies that have this integrated stakeholder approach where all communication and all stakeholders are important when it comes to communicating about an idea. Our illustration is the Star Alliances, and that is aircraft, sort of an airline alliance, strategic alliance, as well as a partnership. And their slogan is, "The way the Earth connects." Why did we take them? Because they address that they have a team of 25 countries and airlines inclusive, with about 75 people in that particular team. They do have a mission to connect people all over the world. They do have a very strong brand. And of course, they do give attention to stakeholder communication in coordinating communication elements as well as internal and external communication. They see it as both important. And we believe that the alignment of external and internal communication is illustrated by this particular company in the way that they do coordinate their stakeholder relationships. And then, of course, they do have a strong reputation, which they do measure from time to time with regards to their behavior, the outcomes of their behavior, their services, their products, and the perceptions, of course, that all their stakeholders have of them. The Star Alliance sustainability initiatives to also bring it towards what we are talking about when we talk about stakeholder engagement towards sustainability. Also sustainability of good internal communication is what sustainability initiatives they have had in their projects across the world, because they are a global company, a global partnership. They had an China advocacy, who doesn't nowadays? They have the undiscovered world of the entrepreneur, so to boost entrepreneurship. They look at the environment because it's a very large part of sustainability, and then the meeting of minds across the world to align themselves to a global perspective. We chose to look at the environment specifically, and in that environment situation, we have 5 projects that we thought might also illustrate, and you in your own time can go and look at those projects. It, to me, is a very good illustration of how stakeholder engagement could be utilized by companies. They have the Amani Raton Reserve in Africa, the Yellowstone National Park in US, the Hagia Sophia in Turkey, Albroos Marine National Park in Brazil, and the Chilika Lagoon in India. So various parts of the developing world and developed world are covered within these projects about the environment. We chose to look at the Amani Nature Reserve. I don't know whether I'm going to have time, but let's have a look if we could. I have 1 minute, and I don't think I'll be able to have time. But if you go look on Facebook.Star Alliance, "How we build bridges with butterflies" is the slogan of this particular project. And it's illustrating building bridges between the stakeholders, among the stakeholders, to illustrate how stakeholder engagement then can build bridges between external as well as internal communication. Now, this small scheme encouraged local people to breed butterflies for exhibition around the world, helping them to earn an income from the forest far beyond their expectations without exploiting its resources. It's amazing how a few small butterflies have managed to build bridges between local people and their environment. In conclusion, we say to people what to do about communication, what to do about internal communication, what to do about external communication. The answer that we are left with, and much to do research about, is how. I believe that is still to be discovered. But why do we say we should not concentrate on the differences between internal and external communication so much, but on enterprise communication and stakeholder engagement? Is that by moving beyond corporate organizational communication to an enterprise approach, including reputation orientation and sustainability, for us is the way to go. Guided by things like the Stockholm Accords that you all are aware of, that moves from governance, management, sustainability, internal, external communication, but also the alignment of internal and external communication. We found that stakeholder engagement is bringing relationships back into communication. It's bringing relationships back into public relations, as we used to know that. Communication management and stakeholder engagement, to us, is a basic functional area of management. We heard this morning, as the President spoke, that communication is a basic need. When we talk about our specific communication management area, we believe that it is a basic functional area of management, and we need to involve all stakeholders, whether it is internal or external communication. Thank you.